Hello everyone and welcome to Harv's World, where we are back in Ravensberg. And yes, of course, it's the morning milk run. You should all be used to this by now. It's gonna literally be happening every single day. 75,000 euros back in the bank account. I have spent some money, quite a bit of money actually, and I'm going to show you exactly what that is. But before we get too deep into this today, I do want to put out there that I am looking for the next destination on the Harv's World Tour. Now, for those of you who don't know, the World Tour, Ravensberg is part of that. We are currently in Germany, and I go to a different country every single time, and it's usually by request from someone. So I am asking each and every one of you to put in the comments down below where you would like to see the World Tour head to next. So far we've been to Scotland, we've been to the Caribbean, we have been to Italy and Germany. So this will be the fifth leg of the World Tour coming up. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close, and I want to give everybody plenty of opportunity to get their suggestions in. Any ideas, thoughts, or otherwise you might have will be very, very helpful. Now, with that said, what you might have seen over the winter during that brief interlude, very brief, is that we've got some new colors. I decided that Frau B, as I'm going to call Frau Baumann from now on, because Frau Baumann becomes an awful lot to spit out over and over again, Frau B needed farm colors of her own. And so we have gone with yellow and blue, or kind of more of a golden blue, if you will. I also picked up this truck and milk transport trailer, sold off one of the small trailers because it was just becoming a logistical nightmare, and I needed something that would get this job done much, much quicker. Much quicker. There's a few things that I want to accomplish today headed into springtime. The first would be getting my time to the appropriate level, because I always set it down to get set up for the day. I did keep one of the small tankers. I was kind of hoping at one point that it would hook up right behind this one, but that doesn't work. But I do need a tanker from time to time to haul things like herbicide and whatnot, so I will keep the small tanker for now. Just drop that right there, and this is going to kind of be the parking space for the old truck, since we'll just be hooking up over and over and over again. Now, as I said, I have spent some money to get us moving into spring. So you probably saw I stocked up on everything. I've got fertilizer, I have got lime, and I have got seeds in my storage, so I should be good to go pretty much for the whole year. I can't imagine needing any more of that. Really can't. Come on, fill me up, brother. Now, the biggest goal we have right now is getting our fertilizer on our fields. Many fields need fertilizer, and look at that, the snow just cleared up. Oh, that'll do me right then and there. That will do me up. Perfect. So I'm going to get a helper over here, and then I've got to run down to the shop and show you exactly what I've bought. So I am headed back from the shop at this point, and one thing that I realized coming into this springtime is that we really needed another tractor. But based on the plans that I've got in mind, a full-blown tractor isn't quite in the cards just yet. In fact, I really need to bring the money together to get Frau Baumann her own large tractor, because, well, the Fendt is mine, and if I ever move along, the Fendt will be going, and she won't have a large tractor to manage over here. So that needs to get taken care of at some point. But with milk sales going the way that they are, I can't imagine that being too far off the mark. Now, of course, we still want to get her chickens. We very much want to get her chickens. That is in the cards also. However, that is dependent on the crops coming in, because I've got barley, I've got wheat, and I've got carrots on the grow right here and now. Yeah, we just need to take a left here. And they actually survived the winter very nicely, so they are doing well. They just need a lot of fertilizer, and I think they need herbicide also. But I'm going to wait and see if the weeds, where the weeds come in before I start applying for our herbicide. Here we are coming back into the farm. So anyway, as I said, we needed something else to help out over here. And frankly, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Yes, I've got a good chunk of money, but believe it or not, that money's already spent. You just don't know it yet. I remembered Herr Huber's little truck that he used to let me drive. So I ran down to the shop, and lo and behold, they've got one, or they had one. I picked that up. About 50,000 euros. And of course, I also picked up a nice big fat Zunhammer. This is a slurry spreader. This is going to do us proud because our cows over in the big dairy barn, the big new barn, are producing a lot of slurry. And actually, you know, I could run this with the little truck, but it makes more sense to do it this way, believe it or not. I'm going to swap out. And I did, well, I better drop this weight. I picked up this weight on purpose because this little truck does need a counterbalance on it if it's using or doing heavy jobs. So I'll leave that weight right there. And what I'm wanting to do is swap the fent, put the fent on the big slurry spreader, and then get the Unimog on the lime. Now you might be wondering about this lime at this point. Well, I'm going to tell you about the lime at this point. In fact, I should probably take care of that right now before something goes amiss. So, in order to make room for Frau Bauman's chickens, we need some more land. There's just not room, and so I'm going to pick up field 4 right here. That's going to give us another nice big fat field to plant crops in. That'll just be extra money for the farm, or space to plant what we need to keep the farm going. But that is 265, just over 264,000 euros, but it's mine, all mine. That still leaves us with over 100,000, which is pretty darn sweet if you ask me. We did very, very well over the winter. Very well. Picked up lots of equipment. Lots and lots of equipment. Okay, so this is our bright brand new field 4, and I am going to get a helper working on this one. Start off with our brand new slurry spreader. And I need to make sure refill slurry from the dairy barn, that's right. So our helper will take slurry straight from our dairy barn. It's going to do a nice job of fertilizing this. Now this field also needs lime, so I wanted to get fertilizer on before I put the lime down. Ooh, yuck. Just get some fertilizer working. Now, as far as our other fields go, our field 9 needs half a coat of fertilizer because I plowed in that canola, so that stayed all fertilized. And then field 10, our clover field, needs some fertilizer. So I'm going to run the manure spreader over to the clover field and let him get working on that. I will throw lime on this. Well, I actually changed my mind because when you're using slurry and manure, you can put manure right over the top of slurry. And the manure spreader runs a little bit faster than the slurry spreader does, so I was giving him a little bit of a head start, but I'm hoping, very much hoping, that slurry spreader will stay ahead. The manure spreader is also a little bit wider, so I might have to manage this quite a bit. Quite a bit indeed, but we'll see how that sorts itself out. Grab a little screenshot here. That's kind of a nice picture. There we go. Let these boys do their jobs, and I'm going to go grab the lime spreader. And you can see this little truck is going to do a great job helping out in the field with smaller tasks like this, although it could easily, and that's kind of the reason I bought the weight for the front of it, it could easily run either the manure spreader or the yeah, that big yellow thing over there. The slurry spreader. With no problem, as long as it's got the weight on the front to counterbalance, because those get pretty heavy when they're full. Really heavy, actually. But that's neither here nor there, because, well, right now, it can do this job. It can run our sprayer to run herbicide. Lots of little tasks that it can handle with no trouble whatsoever. This is actually going to end up being a big help around here for all of the smaller jobs. Now, it's not going to be running plows, although I think I can, if I had the right seeder or planter, we could definitely take advantage of that. And what I do need to do with this field, and actually by the time I'm done, since I'm able to put a coat of lime on here, I should be able to run another application of manure right over the top of this, and this field will be completely ready to go except for the planting. That's huge. I mean, I don't know if you realize just how huge that is, but it's a pretty huge deal. Nice thing too is it's quick. So when I run out of lime, I can speed right back over here. Try not to crash over the snow piles. Grab some more lime and get right back in the field. And you can see there, I've got, what, about 30,000 liters of lime stocked up at this point. Not terribly expensive. What did I get? Maybe 12,000 liters of seeds. I think I got even another 10,000 liters of, another 10,000 liters of herbicide. No, maybe I didn't do that. I was going to and then never got around to it. Yeah, I did something, and I bought some stuff, and I put it in storage, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Winter went by in a blur. And I was getting as much done as I could possibly get done as quickly as possible, so you know, winter just becomes very repetitious, as you could easily see there in that video. But this final field, this field that I purchased today, I don't know that it's the final field, but the field I purchased today, this is really going to kind of push us over the top and make everything Frau B wants to happen. Absolutely, positively. But I do need to sort out the crop rotation on this yet, and then of course I'll need to lease a seeder to get in here and get this all seeded up. Look at that, 3 vehicles working the same field, and we're going to knock this out in no time. So that was an application of slurry, followed by an application of manure, followed by lime, and I've already got the manure spreader back in the field, putting on the 3rd application of fertilizer. So that's one way that you can get 3 applications of fertilizer on very quickly, is to alternate. If I needed to, I could have alternated in chemical fertilizer into that cycle and taken care of this just as well. I also could have skipped the manure and used chemical fertilizer. I could have made sure I had a seeder that would put fertilizer in. I don't see the point. I mean, manure and slurry is free. Chemical fertilizer isn't. So I'm only going to use the chemical fertilizer when it's absolutely necessary, but I do have it on hand just in case. And this little Mercedes-Benz Unimog This is going to be a great addition to the farm. It really is. Yes, I ran out of lime at the very, very end and had to go back and fill up again. Of course I did. And I just realized that I should have had my slurry spreader working on my other fields while we were taking care of this one. That's okay. I mean, woo! Look at that thing fly. Now, if you recall, this is my combined field. It's half barley and half wheat. Split right down the middle, and that's going to be chicken feed. Chicken feed extraordinaire. Okay, so clover, which is very much going to still be an absolute necessity, needs an application of fertilizer. Carrots are going to need some more fertilizer. Looks like tomorrow's going to be for planting. And there we go. Our brand new field 4 is completely fertilized, 100%, and the lime's taken care of. 4 applications in, what, about 6 hours. That was outstanding. Now, before I leave this area, and it's going to get dark soon, but I want to look at my field info, and I can see that this field has been fallow, completely fallow, which leaves me open to plant pretty much anything that I want. Now I'm going to go into my seasons menu. This is my crop rotation. This will be my field 4, and I know that it was fallow. So I can start picking what crop I want to use, and they're all going to be identical in every way. I'm going to get a 0.14 yield boost no matter what I plant here. So I'm trying to think what I should plant here. But I think I'm going to go with soybeans. So my next crop will be soybeans, and then that's going to boost our cereals. So once the soybeans are harvested, any cereal crop that I want to put in here is going to get a nice big fat 20% bonus. I'm getting a bloody early start this morning on day 2 of spring because, well, there's some things A, I want to show you, and B, I want to get done. So you might notice our money has dropped a little bit, and I have to tell you why. Because frankly, feeding the cows was becoming a very, very time-consuming bit of hassle. I mean, it has to be done almost every day at this point. The reason being, there's so many newborns that you are never quite sure of the feeding requirements. So what I did was I bought 3 of these Droughtman Trailers, and I will show you exactly which ones. The very first one in the list, the $8,000 trailer. But I got 8,000 liter capacity with a cover, and I can bump that to 12 if my feed requirements really start to demand it. But for now, I just went with 8,000 liters with cover. I bought 3 of those, and I've got a nice little train here. And I can fill these up with all of my different cattle feeds, which are 3 at the moment. I'm running out of whole crop silage, so I'll have to switch over to grass silage at some point. We can fill this back up with hay. I did feed the cattle last night, but just to show you what I'm doing now. Now I can pull all of my feeds at the same time and just feed them in one fell swoop. Because what I was doing was, so I would grab the WCS and fill up, come over to this cattle barn, feed them, go over to the other cattle barn, feed them, come back, empty out, grab the hay, come to this cattle barn, feed them, go to the next cattle barn, feed them. And it was just becoming a logistical nightmare. So now I can just come in here and cycle through my trailers, and Bob's your uncle. All 3 feeds are filled up. They have plenty of grass at this point, growing with no problem, so I don't need to worry about that. That's only a wintertime thing when the grass goes into hibernation. And then I always want to make sure to turn on the water. One thing that I also did, I'll show you when I get over there, at the other dairy barn. Now, Seasons comes with a water pump. It's something that they've added specifically for seasons so that your cattle never run out of water. Well, with the animal pen extension, you get the water valves. You don't think too much of it. But in this situation, the water valve is on the opposite side of the dairy barn from the feed troughs. And I suppose if I'd been thinking at the time, actually I'd never used this dairy barn before, I probably could have moved this valve all the way over to the other side, but I didn't do it. I put it right here. Well, I actually let them run out of water once. I own it. Big mistake. So now I've installed this valve, this pump actually. This pump will never let them run out of water. I think when it gets down, or it will keep it at a level of 15% full. And if it gets below 15%, that pump will kick in and put more water in there. So it was 5,000 euros. For the sake and safety of my cattle, I figured that was probably a worthwhile investment. I might still put one on the other one too, but the other one doesn't seem to be an issue. And there we go. Cattle all fed up. And then I don't even have to empty these. I can just cover them, park them somewhere. I could actually just leave them. Actually, that's not a bad idea, Harv. Why don't you just leave them right here under this awning? That's a good place for them. Then when I come back, all I have to do is tip them in, and I can refill them on the way over to the other one. Just keep rotating that back and forth, so cattle will be nicely taken care of. Okay, I've got my seeder. I'm ready to fill it up with seeds. But the first thing I'm going to do, and I don't know if I've showed you this before, although I do have a tutorial on it, I've got Global Company Field Calculator installed. I'm going to look at Field 4. This is my Field 4. It will tell me exactly how much I need of each and everything I put on there. So manure takes 50,000 liters for one application, slurry 50,000. But if I click on this, it's going to give me a seed consume button down here. If I click on that, I can go down to soybeans and I can see I need 1,054 liters of soybeans. So I don't want to fill the seeder up too much because it does need to go back to the shop. So I need 1,054 liters of seed, and this is going to fill really fast, so I want to just do it a little bit at a time. That's 1,279. I don't want any more than that because if I fill this thing up, I'm going to have a whole bunch of pallets of seeds sitting around that I don't want to deal with. I'll still have one little pallet. That's not so bad, but having another 4 or 5, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but if I can avoid it, I'm going to. So that's where I stand on that particular topic. I just don't want to deal with the pallets. It's just that simple. That looks pretty good. I hope. Fire that mother up and hit the field running. Oh yeah, that looks like a good, almost perfect actually. That's going to be fantastic. And while we're running down this field, I should take a look. Milk prices are good. I was waiting actually to see, and I might put a helper on this because the milk prices are starting to fall. I wanted to see, I was hoping I could get a full tanker before the prices drop, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be that lucky, because of course I'm not. But you know, we made a lot of money over winter, and that money is gone already, but we have made some significant advancements on Frau B's farm, and that's really what's important here. What I wanted to do was look at my fields and look at the soil composition. See, field 5 does have some weed popping up in it. Field 4 shows some weed, but that doesn't really count so much. Harv, you're in the wrong field. Oops. So yeah, field 5 is going to need herbicide. Field 4 will, but I'm not going to do that until after it's been planted. And then everybody else looks good, but we're all fertilized and ready to go at this point. So I did put a helper seeding up field 4 for me so I could get the milk run before the price dropped too much. So that's pretty much income for the last, well, yesterday and today, which is very nice indeed, because it was 74,000 and 77,000, which is, so what, 152, which means that's another $22,650 in Harv's pocket. And that 15%, I make 15%. So I'm going to transfer that money right now. Soybeans in. That's the last pass on the soybeans, and while my helper was working on that, I brought the Unimog over as something else it's going to be able to help us with. Look at that. It did need the weight, though, to counterbalance, but it did a nice job running the herbicide on the wheat and barley field there. And I'm going to leave it parked right there because I know the soybean field is going to need some herbicide also. Right now, I want to get this thing back to the shop. Now I'm going to unload my seeds first because, well, I paid for them. And the shop certainly isn't going to give them back to me. So I want to get this back as soon as possible. And then I've got a little something extra I want to do just for myself today. So I ran to the shop and leased a piece of equipment for myself. You can see I'm on my own farm at this point. I've got 162,532 euros all saved up. And I was hoping I'd get a little bit of time off to come over here and do some work for myself. Frau B is just going to have to understand. In fact, I should probably have that conversation with her up front just to, well, make sure that there's no issues. Just, explain to her that, while I will obviously, she's the priority, she's the one that's, the one I'm earning the money from. I wouldn't be able to do this without her. So I should keep that in mind. I do have some options over here, though, that I want to consider. Now, you can see down there right in front of me, there's a nice open lot. I've talked about that a little bit before. It's about 62,000 euros to pick that up. And I'm thinking that might be a good way to go, because then I could clean this off and start setting up a farm of my own. But this little field here, I mean, it's a nice little starter field, but it's not going to pay me much. So I'm thinking maybe I should pick up a second field and then have leftover money to come down here and work that with leased equipment as much as I can, and hopefully have these two fields start earning me some money. And I'm looking at this field in front of me right here. It's currently planted with soybeans, and that's about 120,000 euros. So I'm undecided right now. I can't decide which one. I can't do both. But either direction will keep me with the opportunity to work on this farm and build something for myself here in central Germany in Ravensberg. And I've really enjoyed my time in Ravensberg. Maybe you guys can help me out. Maybe you can tell me which is the better choice. Do I start building my own little farmyard down here, or do I get the fields first and worry about the farmyard later? I don't know. Decisions. So I'm going to keep working my field here, at least get it plowed under, maybe a little something extra. I haven't decided yet. But I think that's going to do it for our time in Ravensberg, at least for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I very much appreciate you coming along for the ride. And until next time, take care.